And we are live. People, forgive me. It's been a bit of a rush. My PC crashed due to a surge. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but the devil is a liar. That's all I can say. We will not be held down by anyone or anything. Welcome. It's Dominic again. And today we on a bit of a controversial topic here. It's about the church and its involvement or lack thereof, or just lack of knowledge. We're trying to figure this thing out ourselves. Why are Christians, so-called good Christians, going home and abusing their children? You know, you walk with the Bible under your arm and you're in church throwing up hallelujahs and all of that, and then go home and you practice parental alienation. Now we're going to, if you don't know what parental alienation is, if you're new to this, it will be explained. But I've got a dad who has just joined us yesterday, joined the team, and his name is Tegi. Also been alienated from his child for a long time, 6 years. But today we're not going deep into Tegi's story. We just want to speak about the church and how it's been broken down, how the cornerstone of humanity, of God. I mean, marriage is the closest thing that gets you to I mean, it's the closest thing to God. When you get married, it's a covenant between you, your wife, and God. And yet we are teaching our children how to sin. All right, all this will make sense in a moment. I'm going to just bring Tegi on here. Welcome, Tegi.
Hey Dominic, how you doing?
I'm doing well, in yourself, my brother. We're going to jump straight into this topic. I'm not still going to keep people hanging on their seats here. But
100%.
just before we start, Tegi, tell us a little bit about how parental alienation has affected you and your relationship with your son, you said, right?
Yeah, with my son. So it's just like you said, you don't want to go in too much into my background in terms of my history because we said we'll do it at a later stage.
Yeah, we'll do an
But
interview on Tuesday or Wednesday. So if you'd like to know more about Tegi's story, we're doing a full interview on his successes, his losses. He's had more losses than success. We all do but between Tegi and I, we got this little joke yesterday that we accept our cup of tea, black cup of tea, with no sugar
coffee,
in this.
coffee, coffee,
Oh,
coffee.
coffee,
Like,
coffee, and
yeah.
not even white coffee, Frisco, flow coffee.
Flow
But
coffee,
yeah,
flow coffee. I smugged it. Yeah.
that's what us alienated parents have to accept. Just a little bit of time we have with our kids. We've been done a dirty, but you know, and that has to change. All right, but today is all about the church and what's happening, and how this is atheist. It's actually against God's word. God's word. So just quickly, Tege, as you were saying, how did this affect you and your son's relationship?
Sure. How do I start? I mean, I was married at that stage. I think going on about 7 years on in total. I think my son was around about 6 years old, and typical father-son relationship. I mean, I briefly spoke to you yesterday about the fact that growing up, my son was very close to me. I mean, I used an example of using the braai when I used to do braais at home. I mean, this kid
Yeah,
never left my side. I mean, I can't even put a charcoal in a blitz and he's there next to me. So he was
right.
basically attached to the hip, so to speak. And then
Yeah,
when obviously the divorce was something that was difficult to go through. But I think what did not prepare me for the journey ahead was the fact that this alienation took place, and it just broke me in so many pieces. And not to go into too much detail, but I remember the time it happened, and my then ex-wife told me, at the end of the day, we're going to go through this divorce, but I promise you something, you'll never see your son again. And I looked at her in
that's what she said
absolute,
to you.
she said to me exact words, and I looked at her in absolute abusement or amusement, in looking at her and saying to herself, in my head, saying, you know, you're
You're
crazy.
crazy.
Come on, there's no, yeah, this is that time I said to myself, there's no way in this day and age you're going to be able to pull that off. And in hindsight, she was so right. she was so right. I mean, the things that happened, and I was very wet behind the ears, so to speak, and naive about the judicial system and the process within South Africa at that stage. But yeah, the in terms of your original question, in terms of the alienation, to fast forward ahead, from that moment onwards, I did not see my son in terms of having a father-son relationship for a good 6 years thereafter. 6 years, Dominic.
Jeez. So there are some people who witness this daily, and I think it's just become so much part of society that we take it as the norm. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
people don't know what parental alienation really is and what it entails behind closed doors. What parents actually do to keep their children away from mothers, from fathers. It's abuse, right? So
Spot on. Yeah.
we'll go back and forth trying to just educate people quickly on this. But what I'll do is I'll actually just pull up a message, sorry, a video here, a YouTube video. But as as much as you know now about it, Tegi, can you explain in your words what parental alienation is?
Sure. I mean, in summary, alienation is where one parent withholds access of the child from the other parent. And you think to yourself, how is that even possible? Because in this day and age, we've got rights as fathers and mothers. And unfortunately, in my journey, I've realized, right or wrong, that mothers seemingly has much more rights in this country than fathers at this stage. So what the moms tends to do is make certain whenever it comes to your visitations or your weekend visits or your midweek visits, they ensure there's always something that comes up. Either the child is sick or, there is some excuse that happens. And, week on week, it continues. Eventually, weeks turn to days, turns into weeks turn into months, and months turns into years. So to answer your question, Dominique, alienation is withholding access of the minor child from a specific parent. And in my case, in your case, is obviously the mom's withholding the access of the child to yourself and myself. And obviously, I'm sure most dads or most of the people listening to this live feed has experienced some form of alienation.
My ex, and I'm sure most can resonate with it. It's a tactic that they use where they've brainwashed the child so much where they're so cowardly. They don't say anymore that you won't see your child. They get the child to tell you. And
Oh,
the
yeah,
the the let's not forget the rejection. The child will actually reject you. So a once loving relationship with your
yeah,
child can be broken like that. But the tactics used in the background, and that's why we're discussing this from a Christian level today,
yeah,
is because
yeah.
I'm sure some pastors don't even know that people like this are in their congregation, all
No, spot
holy
on.
on a Sunday.
Yeah,
And when they go
agreed. Yeah,
home, they literally telling their children, if
I
you
love.
make
Yeah,
contact with your father, if you make
yeah.
contact with your mother, there's gonna be hell to pay.
I mean,
So
we,
yeah,
we spoke about it. Sorry to break your word there, Dom.
no, stop.
The we spoke about it. I mean, the experience that I've had, and I think you and Carl had a similar experience where, like I said in the beginning when we started this whole subject, my son and I were very close. I mean, he was at that stage 6 years old, and all of a sudden there's a lot of negative information is being fed to this little kid. Your dad is I don't know, a deadbeat dad, or he's it's just a lot of negative stuff gets told to this child. Do you know he's very abusive? Things that's not really real out there, and those are the things that's fabricated and told to this little child. And then you try to make progress in trying to see this child, and because you've got this beautiful court order which you think is valid, but it's not. It's piece of papers worth almost nothing, to be quite honest with you. So you try your
Chat,
best because you cannot
nothing.
get access to the child, because you cannot gain access into somebody else's house without them allowing you to do so. So what's the only thing that we can do as dads? Go to the police station and ask the cops to escort us. So if we go there, imagine this little kid, 6-year-old kid, 7-year-old kid, whatever your age groups, where he hasn't seen your dad, they have not seen your dad for so many months or weeks and years. All of a sudden, he pitches up there with police officers and guns and stuff and says, "Come with me." I mean, which child in their right mind would want to come with you? Nobody, nobody.
It's
And
traumatic.
remember, back at a barn, things that's getting put into their heads is the fact that if you do decide to go with your dad, you do remember you still have to come home. You're coming
That's
home to
right.
me,
That's
then
right.
I'll deal with you then.
So that's the coping mechanism that these kids that they experience. And if you're new to this, if your child has suddenly been rejecting you and you feel
Yeah,
that feeling of hurt, that hopelessness, and tough to say that suicide has gone through the roof here in South Africa, right?
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
mostly males that's committing suicide. So uh, it's a common thing. I mean, picture your child being kidnapped. That's practically what it is, and held for ransom. That's in
You know,
layman's terms. That's what it is. It's just done by the parent in this case.
it's scary to think about it because I mean, this is the person that you once loved because that's what you did. You married this person in order for us. I mean, for you to have their child with them. And now all of a sudden they're doing stuff like that, and you just can't fathom. And the reality of it all, they take so many things away from you as a father. It's something that you can never ever gain back. I mean, my son's first day at school. I mean, this is my first child, my newborn son. I mean, as any father, you look forward for your first day at school, right? I mean, it's one of those things that it's a milestone moment. I missed that. I wasn't allowed that. You know, I had to go on to places where I had to stalk ex family, so-called extended family members,
So you were turned into a stalker as well.
yeah, phones because I had to get pictures of my son. I kid you not,
Yeah.
I felt like I'm crazy. I'm going crazy because I had to see, hey, wow, he's gone so big. He's got hair now that's growing. He's, yeah, I felt crazy, and that can drive any man to suicide. To be quite honest with you, if you don't have a strong spiritual background or friends and family around you backing you up, and speaking to you and realizing that there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Unfortunately, no one can tell you just when that light is going to come on. Unfortunately.
And just on that point, remember,
Yeah.
alienation doesn't just take place between the couple. It's not just the mother holding the child
Oh,
from the father or the father from the mother. It's the alienated parent who is the one who's restricted access, who doesn't have access anymore. Their whole family is cut off. My
oh, oh,
I can't
oh
get
yeah.
any explanation of why my niece and my nephew doesn't have contact with my child anymore. She
You
ignores their
know.
messages. So okay, I'm
Yeah.
an abuser. You accused me of
Yeah.
abuse, but what have they done to Saskia, my
Look at
baby?
that. That and the damage and the carnage that's being caused. It's something that's almost it's irrecoverable. Like I mean, in my case right now, I mean, my son and one of my sister's kids were very close growing up. I think they're a year apart. Now, if you look at them, they're like total strangers. They obviously they've grown apart, and that's something that's upsetting. I mean, I don't want to go into much more detail about my story, but my mom and my dad passed away without seeing my son. They died.
Jeez.
you you can't. I'm smiling now, but inside of me, I'm broken.
Yeah.
You know, you know, to know that when I saw my son years later, and I said, "Do you remember your grandmom and do you remember your granddad?" And his memories has just been blocked about it. You know how that breaks a person because those are memories that the
You
damage, the
can't.
carnage. You can't, you can't come back to that.
You know,
You can't ever.
it's strange to say that because my first time last year I was at a birthday for the first time in with the mother there without any drama.
Wow.
And my
Okay.
daughter told me the same thing. She cannot remember anything that I've done with her or for her. So I've got a library of videos. I'm always taking videos and pictures. I'm like, okay, so you don't remember any? Oh, yeah. And I'm like, no, this is
Yeah.
weird. This is weird. How do you forget someone or just completely every experience?
Wiped out.
No, no.
Wiped out.
There's brainwashing
Yeah.
here taking place. But um, I'm hoping that actually my connection isn't stable enough here to play this video.
Oh,
Um, I
okay.
just wanted to play a video in the eyes of the specialists, okay? Because they explain it best. Let me see if I can share this here quickly. But
No
before we
worries.
go
No
into
worries.
that, Terry, you are a counselor at church, am I right?
Yeah, yeah. I decided to do so because I realized there's so much of brokenness out there. There's so much of carnage that these divorces slash alienations has caused. I wanted to give back to the community, and that's how I decided to give back by becoming a registered counselor at the church that I belong to.
So here's my question:
Sure.
is the church aware that this is going on? I mean, as far as I know, if you, especially in small congregations, it's like everyone knows everyone in the church. And
Yeah.
look, I'm the type of Christian that don't go to church. I'm gonna tell you straight up. I stopped going to church
Yeah.
a long time ago, and that's for my own reasons. But if you really want to know, I'm tired of
Yeah.
of the hypocrites. It's things like
Yeah.
this that has taken me away, that has taken me out of church. And I know there's that, common, it's a common saying, people say, ah, not every church is the same, and go there for the Lord and not for the other people and all of that. But the congregation, I mean, the body of Christ is that the head can't work without the arm, and the eye can't work without the ear. So I
Yeah.
mean, there's a
Sure.
whole lot of dysfunctional body parts here, and I'm trying to be good. What good is a good eye with a whole broken body? You know what I'm saying? So I'm
Spot
not
on.
keeping myself better than anyone, but
Yeah.
um, right now, that's just what I feel for myself, and it's all in my own opinion that people have become so hypocritical and they're hiding their evil
Yeah.
by going to church every Sunday. So, is the church actually aware that this is going on, this alienation?
So I'm going to give you a very long answer to your question while you're trying to get your
Okay.
video going.
No, cool,
so
cool.
so here goes. So the answer is yes. I can only talk on behalf of the church that I belong to. They do believe or do know that these type of things are happening, and that's the reason why these sort of programs gets implemented in the church, within the church program, called divorce care and all those type of things. However, the thing that's very important is, how do I say this nicely? I'm trying to think of my words. Depending on the size of the churches, right? Some churches are much more bigger, and some churches are much more smaller. The one thing that's very difficult to talk about, and I think this is the reason why, part of the reason why I've even joined you guys as well, is the fact that divorce is almost like a taboo subject to talk about in these environments. And it's sort of, when you are identifying it within these environments, it's almost getting tiptoed around because you don't want to offend anybody, you don't want to say the wrong things to too many people. And not to defend any pastor or pastorals out there, the reality is that we have something called, and I'm not trying to make myself into the most the best Christian out there. The reality of it all, we have those Sunday Christians, and I'm not trying to be blasphemous in terms of what I'm saying. We have those
Yeah,
Sunday Christians where you come on a Sunday, you got your Bible, you got. I grew up in Lent, so we got those dukes. You got those dukes.
yeah,
What do you
yeah.
call it? The scarf. You got your scarf on, and you got your pretty poppy Sunday dress on. So the pastor looks at you and say, "Wow, what a good woman this is. What a
Right.
good Christian woman this is. She can do no wrong." So in the eyes of the church, in the eyes of the how do I say, the community within that environment, they see this person as a very good human being. But back at the barn, she's doing all these sort of things like parental alienation and all the rest of it. So to get back to your original question, I think it's known within the church environment. I just personally think it's getting tiptoed around too much, and it needs to be addressed more aggressively. And again, I don't want to sidetrack and go into something else that we haven't even mentioned, but
No, please do.
just if I do, just bring me back into line, Dom. The reality
No,
in South Africa,
yeah,
the biggest subject that we've been experiencing recently is gender-based violence out there. And if you do take a step back and do a sort of a root cause analysis as to what has gone on in the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years, and the reality of it is there's a fatherless society out there. And don't get me wrong, I'm not putting all men out there that's all perfect and prim and proper, because there isn't. Because there's some boys out there that loves making children, and I don't call them men. I put them in a different class altogether. So those are
yeah.
boys, irrespective of their age group or whatever. They're not fathers, in my opinion, right? Um, Now they make those children and they don't care about them, and those kids grow up without any fathers out there or father figure. Now we need to differentiate between the fathers out there that does not want to be part and parcel of those children's lives, and we also need to draw a line in the sand in terms of who are those fathers that actually do want to be part of those children's lives, however being alienated by their mothers because for whatever vindictive reasons they want to have. So I think that's something that's very important to sort of, if there's ever an analysis that could be done, and I don't know if it's even possible out there, in terms of these gender-based violence and the effects that it has on society. How many of those children that grows up into men out there grew up without father figures in their lives, and then split further into how many of those fathers were actively wanting to be part of their lives and were alienated, versus those deadbeat, sorry to call it word, deadbeat fathers out there that didn't want to. And we can't call them fathers, we call them boys, right? And I think it will be a very interesting analysis, to be quite honest with you.
In the church they call it what, a generational curse. But
Spot on.
you can also link it to psychology. It's not so much a curse as it is a belief system.
Yeah,
If
agreed.
you believe that fathers are only here to be sperm donors, sorry for my language
No.
here, church people, but if that's what society paints men as, how easy is it for a man to walk into a police station and say, look here, me and my child is being abused by my wife? They laugh at you. They do laugh at you. I mean, I've been ridiculed when I was. So
I'm
now,
laughing. I'm laughing because I had an experience happen to me. Sorry.
no, absolutely. And now we've got the issue of gender-based violence. Okay, so the man now must be macho. So I'll rather beat the woman. Then you get arrested. So society and this perception that we have of people and how we should act and how we should behave and all of that, it was written in the Bible.
Hmm.
Everything, if you go into the Bible, it tells us exactly
Yeah.
how we should behave, I mean, isn't it like six of the 10 commandments is how people should treat each other? Look how selfless God is. He didn't even think about himself. He could have kept all 10 commandments and say it's all pointed at him, but no, he loves
Yeah.
people so much. But look at what we're doing now. Get divorced, and then you actually go to the police station and open up a false case of sexual abuse, and you have the child actually lie. Do you know what it does to a child to
You know,
lie
you.
and say that my father has molested me?
Oh my God. You know, I don't even. It's the most sickest way of. I don't. I'm even lost for words. It's sick. It sickens me just hearing you say that. But guess what? It's happened. I'm probably sure to a lot of fathers. It's happened to me. Well, not in terms of what you just said,
I
but
can I can
to have
easily
my
say
own
nine
kid.
out of 10 fathers. If you are a father with a daughter, almost certainly you will have
Yeah.
that type of allegation against you.
And I like what we said. Obviously, we weren't live that time. The fact is, these accusations that keeps getting brought up. The judicial system. I don't know if they just don't have the capacity, the manpower, whatever the case may be, to investigate these cases. Because I think these false allegations, and there's a perception out there of creating, oh, let me just fabricate something quickly, and all of a sudden in the court of law, that fabrication becomes something that's so difficult to defend yourself against. It needs to be investigated thoroughly, and in my humblest opinion, if found to be something that was just fabricated, the consequences should be given to the people that created that. And in this case, is
Absolutely.
the mothers out there.
Absolutely.
So
Uh,
that's horrible, man. That's really horrible.
so pastors, this is what's going on in your churches. There are, like Tegi said, women with dookies and looking all prim and proper with their children close to their side there, and they look like this loving. But
Yeah,
no, when they get home, they're plotting and planning to destroy the father.
yeah, spot on, spot on.
Not
And
not in
it's
all
very
cases, but
difficult.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Don, go
You're
ahead.
saying, sorry.
Okay, and it's very difficult. I mean, think of it. It's like what's that nice English word that you use? In this world, there's so much of fakeness. People are just putting up an act.
Yeah,
And then how do you, as a I don't think pastors has magical powers that can differentiate between a woman that's going home that's practicing alienation and a woman that's actually going home that's a single mom that actually loves the kids, that wants the kids to have a good relationship with their dads. A pastor cannot have that mindset to be able to see through all of that. But the reality is that I think those type of individuals need to look at themselves in a mirror and ask themselves, are they really truly Christians, or are they Christians that just go, what did I say earlier? Sunday Christians, yeah, with the
well,
dookies.
well, I don't know if you know this part of alienation, but it's as the experts say that most
Hmm.
alienated have a mental condition and they actually can't control. They can't control their behavior. The part of their brain that controls empathy, love, understanding, and all of that compromise, it doesn't function well. All right,
Wow,
just to
you've
put it
just
in
taught me
simpler
something.
terms.
You've taught me something, but makes sense. Makes a lot of sense in my personal situation. Makes a lot of sense what you've just said.
So I think if pastors are watching this, if church leaders are watching this, I think it's time for you to be a little bit proactive. If you know of a divorce, or if you know of single moms, single dads that have their children, ask, where's the mother, how's the mother, and all of that. And from their response, you would be
Mm,
able to identify there might be something going on there. For instance, you see a mother with a daughter. Great. Hey, where's the father and all of that? How's your father doing? No, he's a deadbeat and all of that. Okay.
right.
That's
Yeah.
that's already grounds for you to dig a little deeper. Okay, what makes him a deadbeat? And you'll often hear the most ludicrous
Yeah.
explanations or straight out lies.
Mm, mm,
I mean, we can't be that dumb. And I believe it's that turning a blind eye. And if you're turning a blind eye, then you
yeah.
are as much guilty of it as what any other person is.
Spot on.
You as
That's some.
you Yeah, it's your duty to know your congregation, right? But I do understand if you didn't know about it, because as Tegi said as well, it just dawned on him now that 9 out of 10 times, if not all the time, an alienating parent, because no normal person does that. No normal. Okay, Tegi, would you keep your child away from the mom?
Never, never, ever in a million years, because I know clearly, growing up in a home where there was a mother and father present, I know the importance of having that mom's love and having the dad's love, or sternness, or whatever you call it. I always say this very tactfully, is the fact that no mom can be a dad, and no dad
No,
can be a mom.
dad
No
can
one
be a
can
mom.
fulfill that. No one can fill. We can try. You and I can put a. Sorry, I'm gonna sound horrible now. We can go put an apron
No,
on and
no.
go bake some cookies in the oven. It might come
It
out
won't
lacquer.
change
It might
anything.
not come out. So it won't make you a loving mom. I mean, in
Yeah.
terms of things that dads do, showing things around the house, handiwork. A mom can knock as much nails into the walls as she want to, but that sternness that a father can bring towards a child, it's something that it's not possible. It's never ever possible, you know. And we need to understand out there that divorce is not nice. It's not something that's pleasant. But every single child, as much as they need their fathers, needs their moms, and as much as they need their moms, they need their dads. Because in order for them to be whole out there and complete, I think that's very important word to use. All that we want to grow up is a child that turns into a man or a woman and becomes adds value to society and does not cause any carnage. Where we've seen in the last few years, we've touched on the subject of gender-based violence, and I know deep down in my head, it's because of a fatherless society, no doubt about it.
So also for church leader, in fact, all Christians, let's just say all Christians.
Yeah,
Um, if you're wondering why you should get involved in this, if you're wondering why this matters to you, well, picture this: your child being kidnapped from you, right? That's what it feels like, and
yeah,
there's no way you can't come up with a ransom money.
yeah,
There's no amount of money that you can come up with that will free your child,
yeah, yeah,
and you have to live with that pain. All right, there's a difference when you lose a child and they died. All right, and
yeah,
I'm not taking that away from anyone, but
yeah,
eventually, I mean, you've got closure. You know that you're never gonna see that child because of. But
yes,
now picture you never seeing that child because the law is keeping you away from that child. You can't just rock up and just spend time like you used to with your child. And I'm not talking about estranged fathers. There's a big difference. There's
yeah.
fathers who have never been in their children's lives, that don't care, that didn't want to, that has rejected the child, right?
We
And
can
then
call
there
them
are
boys.
fathers,
We can call them
yeah,
boys, Dom.
you can call them
Let's call
boys.
them boys.
But
Yeah,
then there are fathers who have been in their child's life up to a certain point, like you've been there up until the age of 6. That child had a bond with you, that he had a bond with you the day he came into this world.
spot on,
I had
spot
a
on.
bond with my child for 12 years, and suddenly she's telling me, I don't want to see you again, you make me feel uncomfortable. I'm like, really?
Whew, my goodness gracious, I don't even know what you felt like, my man. The
So,
pain that you've gone through.
well, that's what got us starting this movement. So we're doing our part, and we want the church to back us up with this. We want the church to get involved. Let's look at what the Bible says here quickly about this. All right, and
Sure.
we've done our we've done a bit of research just in terms of scripture. It says here, and this is Isaiah 1 verse 17, and I'm not a pastor and I'm not about to preach now, but let's talk real here. This is instruction from God, right? So
Yeah.
since we such good Christians, all that, what makes you a Christian? You need to just follow the word of God as closely as you can, as much as you can. But it looks like
Of
we
course.
take parts of the Bible out, and we choose what we want to follow as Christians. So
Agreed.
learn to do good, treat people fairly, punish those who hurt others, speak up for the widows and orphans, argue their cases for them in court. That's an instruction, not from me. That's an
Sure.
instruction from God. This is what we're supposed to do. This is our duty, right? So I often say that this is not a problem that you can pray away. Yes, prayer is important, but this is an
Yeah.
action. This is an action problem. You have to share this message. All right. And on that note, please, if you're watching this, like, share, comment, give us your views if you feel that we are um, tramping on some toes here. Thank you, Peter. Uh, Peter Tong. We glad you're getting the broadcast and you like the broadcast. I'm assuming that you're also a father that just wants to be in your child's life, or you've got some sort of knowledge of this. But what are we actually doing here, people? So, funny enough, I'll tell you something. Now, the other day,
Yeah.
my ex's uncle actually lives in the block of flats that I grew up in front of him, right? I grew up
Wow.
with his cousin. We were raised together. I mean,
Yeah.
with his son, with
Mm-hmm.
my ex's cousin. So
Mm-hmm.
he asked me like he walked past and he was like, so how was your Christmas day, knowing fine and well I don't get to see my child anymore, and he saw me with my child all the time. So I said
Yeah.
it was like I said, this isn't church, and I promised I'm not going to swear, but I said it's cuck. It was a cuck Christmas, and he felt offended by what I said. Like, yeah, you
Uh,
don't have to. I said so. I got him sideline, and I asked him, look,
yeah.
do you think it's right that what your niece is doing to me, lying about me, making false accusations, and keeping my child away? You know what he said? Is it my business? There's a Christian
Wow.
man plays guitar in church.
Wow. 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 Now that's disheartening, right? That is really, really disheartening. Because is it a facade? Is it a facade that people are
It
putting on?
is. It
You
is.
know, you're part
There's
of
a
the
whole lot of
band.
sick
You
people.
you've got a great singing voice, so you sing the best in the congregation, and you go back home and you practice, or you are, I tell you that I think it's an old cliche where I've taught this to my kids now. If you see obviously a bullying is not allowed at all in my household, to none of my children. Obviously, I'm sure it goes without saying, but it goes further for me. I said, if you witness somebody getting bullied, or you were part and parcel of seeing somebody getting bullied, you stood by and you did nothing in that
And you
moment,
could do something.
and you could do something, do as good as guilty as the person that bullied. And I've told that to my kids. And getting back to this so-called uncle of hers, it's as good as him doing it himself to you. And I'm not trying to take sides here. And that's what upsets me. It's the fact that you see this thing happening, you look at it, it's your own blood, it's your own niece, you can go up to and say, listen here, I'm your uncle. What you're doing is not
What are
right.
you doing?
Publicly it's not right. In the eyes
Yeah,
of God, it's not right. I mean, who cares if Dominic cheated on you? I'm not saying that was the case, don't get me wrong, Dom.
yeah, yeah.
Whatever the
I'll,
circumstances
I'll
led to
share
the
my story still. Don't worry. It's
no, no,
coming.
but I'm saying it's irrespective of what happened. Leave your personal issues, and yes, leave that hurt and that pain and vindictive spirit of yours. Leave it out. That child needs her father, because there's no greater bond than a daughter's love with their dad. It's the first love. It's the first love that a child, a female, has in their lives, and for them to take that away from you is just. I'm lost for words, bro. I'm lost for words, to be honest.
Well, I I find strength in this movement, right?
Me
I'm
too.
done
That's
with
why I'm
the
aligned with you guys.
I'm done with the crying and complaining and all of that. But our stories, putting it out there publicly, because this is what, and I'll say this in every live.
Yeah,
This is what we now have to resort to, is going
yeah,
live and exposing people.
spot on. And that's what I was aligned
because
to
because
with you
because
and Kyle.
because talking it out now, hashing it out, it doesn't even get to that. There is no mediation.
Yeah,
So hopefully, in your case, I mean, you do counseling, you do divorce counseling, right? Tegi? So
yeah,
um I mean, I hope that there are parents watching this that consider first getting an outside party involved with this conflict between you two, for the child's sake, for the child's sanity, because that they talk about best interest of the child. That's the best interest of the child. Keep all
yeah,
the fighting away from them completely. Your child should never know about you, what you have done, no matter what you have done, unless you've done it to them. And
yeah,
it's putting the child in the middle as the referee. That's why you see this is what has inspired our logo, our branding here. This right here is is a child having to
yeah,
choose between mother and father, and no one
yeah.
wins. They literally murdering one or the other parent,
Spot on.
right? That
spot on.
that's what the child is left to do. Murder that child. That all that child has forgotten about you. The bond you've had. It's it's as good as you never existed.
And not to bring back to my story, I mean, what pains me is the fact that my son wears very little or almost nothing, no memories of his grandparents that absolutely loved and adored him. And that's something that I don't want to see anyone go through. And that's part and parcel of when I saw your feed with Kyle the other day. I said, wow, I resonate with what these guys are saying. It really holds, it speaks to my heart to say that, after 12 years of going through this, I don't know how many other fathers out there that might have had more than 12 years plus that they're going through these type of things. But something needs to be done. And even if it means going through this live podcast, and making our voices heard out there, to say that fathers out there needs to be given equal rights, as mothers out there. And I'll say that until my last breath, because I think children out there needs both the father's love and the mother's love, simultaneously, in order for them to be complete and made whole.
Check out the scripture. It says here, the Lord examines those who are good and those who are wicked. He hates those who enjoy hurting others. Now,
Oh, wow.
there's a difference between hurting someone and not really realizing what you have done. But
Yeah, agreed.
you said to me that your ex told you you will never see your son again when you broke up.
Never. Never. And I looked at her, I probably had the same grin on my face and said in my head, never. That's never gonna happen. In this day and age, never. You don't have that power.
In
In
6 years,
hindsight,
6 years.
in hindsight, I feel so stupid. I feel so stupid. To
We
be
all
honest,
do.
it's
We all do. I
it,
also thought it's ludicrous. I've got a court order. We've got a parenting plan. Whatever.
then you take that piece of, I'm trying my best to watch my words, this court order, let's rather say this piece of paper, and you
No, it's
take
a
it to
piece
the
of
police
toilet
station.
paper. If you ask me.
I love that. You take it to the police station and they look at it and they say, okay, but we tried last week to take your son. He doesn't want to come with you. What can we do about it? Our hands are tied. You look at him and you said, what is that piece of paper worth then? As you said, toilet paper. That's all it's worth.
And let's take let's take a step back there.
Yeah,
Your
sure.
job as a parent is to do what? It's to teach the child, it's to protect them, it's to guide them, and all of that. But now the law has taken that away from you and said, no, the child has a say in this. It's no longer 18 anymore. From the age of 12, your child can say whether they want to see you or not. This is what
100%.
the idiots at the police station know. I call them idiots because I haven't met one that gives
Yeah.
proper advice. And
No, they
oh, by the
all.
way, I've heard that it actually differs from police station to police station. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
There's
my
some
son
that
was,
know, there's some that don't know. I don't know. The law changes in every suburb now, not even every state.
no, my son was under 12 and they still didn't do anything about it. They still took his word because remember the fabrication that was made
Yes,
against me was that I was this
abusive.
bad guy, this abusive guy that's gonna do
Mm.
harm and hurt my son if I take him, to his loving home that I've created for him. And
But
the
by
cops
the way,
couldn't do
your
nothing.
your son is 18 years old now, right? And he's
Yeah.
living with you. And he's living with you. Tell us. I think that's a
Ah,
miracle.
hey,
If
you're gonna
anything,
make me,
since we're talking
yo,
church here, since we're talking church,
yo, you're gonna make me
how's that?
emotional, dear Tom. You're gonna
Yeah,
make me emotional, bro. I don't
that's
wanna,
that's
I
what
don't
it's
wanna,
about.
I don't wanna tear on a live feed, bro. All I can say.
Just a little bit about how your relationship is with him now. Now that you guys have realized the injustice.
How do I say this? And I'm gonna bring church here to it. Is that they say it's stipulated in the Bible when things happen and it's unjust, God
Mm.
will restore sevenfold over. And I never stopped praying for the situation to mend itself, and I never thought in my wildest dreams it will ever happen where I actually get to see my son without having any issues. And I think we'll go into more detail um, when I have
in your
that
interview, yeah.
interview. But as much as it's the relationship I have with my son right now is brilliant. It's amazing. God has restored that. It's like that 6 years were just wiped out, and it was restored. I mean, the worst fears I had. I mean, I grew up in Lens, I mean, where drugs and abuse and those type of things is rife. And as a father, you think the absolute worst fears going through in through your mind, knowing that you've got a young boy out there that's not getting direction and that type of wisdom that I knew I had as from my dad. So to answer your question, God has restored that
Hmm.
relationship amazingly. He's basically in the next room here playing PlayStation all day long,
Awesome.
which which
Awesome.
which is
Whatever
which
keeps
is
him
something that,
happy.
well, whatever makes him happy, and it's something that him and I fight about quite honestly. And that's besides the fact that he's a Manchester United supporter, and I'm an Arsenal supporter, so that also makes us fight a little bit. But jokes aside, the relationship is just amazing, and God, I don't take any glory for that, because all I just did was I just stood steadfast and just continued with the principles and principalities that I've known all my life and learned from my father. And when my son started staying with me, I just continued to persevere, just do the things that I knew that I should do as a dad. Standard things that everyone knows. You do, take the kids to school, you pick them up, you drop them off, you do homework with them. You know, uh, right now for the last 5 years, he's been with me full time, and that for me is a living testimony of God restoring what has been taken from me, and from him, as and from him. Very important to understand that it's been taken. And like I said, we'll go into deeper details on Tuesday or Wednesday, but I
You
don't
know
see
what?
it.
You know what just popped into my mind, and I'm sorry to break your word. It
No,
would
go
be
for it.
so awesome one day when he's up to it, your son,
Yeah, yeah,
that we actually hear from his words, because it's only parents coming on that speaks about these things always, but you
yeah,
only hear it from the child when they're in their 40s, and then they look back and say, oh, my parents are dead now, I don't have a relationship with them, and
yeah,
now I'm broken, I've suffered with
yeah,
this, that,
yeah,
and that. So yours is a success story. It's more than that black cup of coffee. Way more, man. You've added
Ha-
milk. You got sugar. I think you moved up to Jacob's. Like
yeah.
you're having
You know,
cappuccinos now.
you know what, bro? I honestly, I'm grateful and I'm thankful, and I know I don't want to be sounding ungrateful, but I must be honest with you. I got beaten 6-love in court. I
Hmm.
got hit to the curb and back, and I lost every battle. I'll be blatant and honest with you. Every battle possible because of false accusations, and I got to a point where it's embarrassing to say, but I ran out of money. I ran out of money to be able to fight anymore in court. So when the relationship was restored, it wasn't a battle that I won in the court of law. So we'll go into detail on Tuesday or Wednesday. So yes, I'm
Yeah.
happy and I'm thankful that I have got my coffee with milk and no more brown bread. I'm at least got some white bread with some peanut butter and some jam
Yeah.
on it as well. but uh, but yeah, I would have loved to have won that battle in court to say, you know what, there's equilibrium, or there's equality rather, between males and females out there, and it's not only females that's constantly winning in the courts of law, because then I would sit on his feet and feel happy about it. But the fact of the matter, it's like I won the match, a soccer match with the offside goal. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah. That's a cool analogy that you've given there.
Yeah,
Um, you know what? Uh, I'm just it's amazing, and I can't wait for your story to be shared with everyone, because it's something that's going to give people hope, a lot of hope, right?
yeah,
But just back again here to what we the scripture here. Hate is a strong word, right?
yeah,
And if God says he hates those who enjoy hurting others,
yeah,
watch out. Watch out, alienating parents, if you think it's cool, especially those with the Bible under the arms and dookies. You know
The
what
Dookies.
you
Don't
do?
forget the Dookies. Don't forget the Dookies, dog.
What you do in the dark will come to light.
Spot on. Spot
And
on.
we are
You know, there's
going
a
to
nice.
we are gonna make that happen a lot sooner than what you think. Right? Parents are stepping
I
up.
love.
Parents are coming
I love.
forth.
I love
And
it. And
these stories are going to be shared.
and Dom, sorry to jump in there. I mean, a nice
No,
word
no.
that most people can resonate with is that lovely word called. Okay, I'm from Lens. So I'm gonna say karma. You know, but I
Karma.
think the proper word is karma, or whatever
Karma.
however you say karma. You know, karma is never sleeping, and I believe that strongly. And both yourself, Dominique, and myself, uh, uh, we're not. If we do anything wrong and unjust, we need to feel that karma come to us. So understand that. So I fear.
I've had my fair share. I'm no
Me too.
uh, I'm no
And I'm not a
angel.
saint. And
Yeah.
neither am I. I'm no saint. I might
But
be a
I paid.
counselor now,
I
but
paid. There was a point
I'm
where
not.
I asked God, okay, did I pay it all back now? Is it done? A- And
Is there
and I
still an
think he gave.
overdraft facility? Is it overdraft facility, or is there still
I
some
think
credits due?
I think he gave me that to say, all right, now it's fine now, son. You can now love. And then this happened. My child taken away from me, which is the
But
biggest. Yeah, you
but you
can't
know
you
what I
can't
would like to
compare this
say.
to anything.
No, you can't. And like I said to you, and I don't want to start my story again, where when death comes in play, where people are taken out of your lives, like you mentioned, your nieces and your nephews that can't spend time with your daughter now. It's
My
painful. It's
mom, my
horrible.
mom,
Your
my
mom,
mom is
your mom.
75 years old. She's
That
heartbroken.
the carnage that these people are causing. But this is getting back to that word that I mentioned earlier, the karma.
Mhm.
I feel so sorry for those people. I'm fearful for them when that karma comes back. Be prepared. Be prepared. If you want to alienate the father from their daughter, their son, their kid, the carnage that's coming your way, be ready.
It's
Be ready.
unfathomable.
It's
Which
oh,
leads
I
me
love that
into the
word.
which leads me into this one. Check this scripture out. Okay,
Yeah.
church, church. If one of these little children believes in me, and someone causes that child to sin, it will be very bad for that person. It would be better for them to have a millstone tied around their neck and be drowned in deep sea. In the deep sea. Matthew 18, verse 6.
Wow.
So if you if you've been doing this, if you've been alienating your child, church person, sister, brother, watching this, if you've been doing this unknowingly, and we figured out, we've heard stories where these dirty tactics are actually being told to parents by social workers. Oh no, just make a case, open up a case of assault or whatever. The police will even instruct you. In my case, the Sergeant Maputa of Sophia Town Police Station. Yeah, I am not scared to name and shame.
Sure.
She told she I was there trying to make a case of my own of assault or attempted assault against my ex and uh, partner,
Right.
and she sends me away, tells my ex to fetch the child. I was escorted by the police home to hand my child over when I wanted to take her to a for an assessment with a social worker
Sure.
because she wasn't acting normal, and my child
Right.
was willing to do it. That's the amazing part. She was actually excited. she she
Right.
she looked, she looked relieved. Her only concern was, I need to go to school tomorrow. She's an overachiever, and I told her, don't worry, baby. You've been off of school for months on with COVID, and with
Oh,
this whole
shame.
COVID situation. So don't
Yeah.
stress about that. We need
Yeah.
to get well now. You and I need to heal. And
Good. Yeah.
this police officer instructed other police. She got the station commander to send police with, remove my daughter and bring my child to the police station, of which I avoided because that is traumatic. I didn't want her to go there.
Yeah.
took
No, of
they
course
took my child to the police station and had a write a report against me.
not.
And I'm not gonna reveal what was in that report right now.
No,
But
no, I can only imagine.
these are the things that are instructed. So my
Mm.
point being, if you are a parent who has been instructed to use these dirty tactics, and you know there's something in your little mind, yeah, the back, that's telling you this is wrong. You know, that angel on your shoulder that's telling you that this is
Yeah,
not true, this is not right, this
yeah,
man would not do this to his child.
yeah.
And you were told and you've made a mistake, you've got an opportunity to make that right. But if you stand
Mm.
by your word, I promise you,
Yeah.
it will come to light. It's going to,
S-
and we're gonna make it
Spot on.
happen. We're gonna
Spot
make
on.
it happen.
I
we,
totally
we're
agree
not
with you.
we're gonna pray about this, but we're also going to work actively, as I showed you in that first scripture here.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
we know what our duties are. We know what our duties are. We will be speaking up for the widows and orphans. We're going to
yeah,
be arguing our kids' cases on their behalf in court. For a child to have to come to court and choose between parents should never happen in the first place.
yeah. It shouldn't. It should never,
Should be
because, like I said,
completely avoided.
in the very, very, very beginning, I said to you, a child, a complete child, a whole child that we would like to get integrated into the community is to have both a mother and a father present in their lives. You know, they might not necessarily be together at any given time, but one week with a mom, one week with a dad, continuously for the entire month will definitely complete their child. I believe that holistically.
Mental health is a major problem here in South Africa, and this whole
Yeah,
COVID situation has added to that as well.
sure. Yeah,
So it's time for people to heal. you know uh, these alienating parents are either narcissists, sociopaths, or psychopaths, right? And I think I'm gonna get this video to play here. We're gonna have a short
awesome.
break, and I want you to hear it from the expert's point of view as well, because we think that this is just a curse, right?
Yeah,
But science can overlap with biblical terms as well. Science and the
and
study of the brain. And I mean, we need to look at all avenues to kill this beast. This is evil. This is not from God. This is from the devil. I mean, how can you
spot
possibly
on.
think? How can you
Yeah,
possibly think that this is what God intended for your child?
never, never, absolutely not.
So yeah, I'm no pastor, like I said, I'm no angel, but I know right from wrong. And that's the basic things that we, and right now that's being skewed.
No, of course, and it's scary that the people that they trust most. I mean, who more to trust than the person that gave birth to you? I mean, how can you not trust that person? That person gave you life,
Can
so
you?
to speak.
Yeah, yeah. My daughter, after she heard the cold hard truth from me, and yes, I told her. Um, I asked her, "What do you believe now?" She said, "I'm completely confused." She doesn't know the difference between right and wrong anymore.
She doesn't, because that's the honest truth. These are kids,
She
and
actually no, she actually confirmed that she doesn't know what the truth is anymore.
oh,
She can't tell
that's
the
so sad.
difference.
That is sad. That is so sad, bro. Seriously sad.
So not to sadden this whole thing, but it is a sad topic. Until we have some success stories, we cannot just we can't act. I'm a bad actor. I'm a terrible actor, Tege. I'll tell you that much.
Nah,
So
that makes two of
so
us, bro. It makes two
so
of us.
so that so that's why I prefer just being myself and being vulgar and straightforward, because that's how I get my point across.
No, 100%.
Unfortunately, sorry, church folks, you're not gonna pray for me. That's all I can say.
Okay, we'll have a session after this call.
Okay, all right, cool. That's all good. Let me share this video here.
Fantastic. Go for it, bro.
Actually, you know what? I don't think the sound is on here. My bad. Let me just fix
Yeah, no
this.
sound, no sound, no sound.
No sound.
No, there wasn't sound. We
Okay,
can hear you. I can hear you, but not a video.
let's share that. Oh, share tab audio. It was on there. Cool. Let's try this again.
Okay, perfect.
In parental alienation, a child is rejecting a parent for a non-protective reason. In other words, that parent is safe. The child is protected and safe with that parent, and there was an unreasonable rejection due to an alienating influence.
If we rule out that there is no abuse and this child is not wanting to see them, we have to recognize that they're being abused by the other parent to not have a relationship with them. Because again, it's the child's right to have a relationship with them. And if that person is not supporting that and not recognizing their own role in not allowing that to happen, that's abuse. And then that child, if you notice, alienated children will defend them tooth and nail, just like you see these kids defending the people who are abusing them sexually.
It's something that's existed for many, many decades. And I think now we're reaching a point where we're starting to recognize that a child who says vehemently, I'm not going to see a parent after family separation, is a child that's waving a red flag.
It's also considered domestic violence because the intent of the behavior is to harm the other parent and their relationship with the child. And so many behaviors that alienators do aren't always involving the child. The child can be a weapon that's used against them, but they will engage in many, many behaviors just to hurt the other parent.
And if you've got a parent who demonstrates, who shows, who through their behavior signals to the child that it's not acceptable for the child to have a relationship with the other parent, then the child will respond to that, because their greatest anxiety is that that parent will become emotionally unavailable to them.
Parents are being accused falsely of sex abuse. Terrible, terrible. If a child believes the false story that they had been sexually abused by a parent, they are at the same risk potential for PTSD as if it actually had happened. This is criminal behavior, absolutely criminal behavior. The alienator is assaulting the child's memory, feelings, thinking, relationship with the parent. Assault is a crime.
So whenever I conduct trainings with mental health providers and lawyers as well, one question that always comes up is, how do I know whether it's alienation or the child is really being abused and they don't want to see the other parent?
So if you follow the model, there would be no way for an abused child to be considered alienated as long as we have accurate ways of determining if a parent has been abusive.
So when you see a child who's rejecting one parent, especially strongly, and you see the same child is strongly aligned with the other parent, probably that's an alienated child, not an estranged one.
Alienating parents use a lot of the same strategies of loyalty-inducing things that people who are trying to groom children to be sexually abused use.
And we have a lot of research about how profoundly dysfunctional and unstable an alienating parent is. Let's face it, a normal parent will not try to undermine the relationship between the child and the other parent. A normal parent appreciates that the child has a need for the other parent. And when the alienating parent can't appreciate that, they lack empathy, for one thing.
The model says that 4 things need to be present in order to know that a rejecting child is alienated. All 4 have to be present. So we try to set the bar pretty high so that we are not placing or considering an abused child as an alienated child.
For a child to reject a parent is not just about the dreadfulness of murdering a parent who is still alive and saying, I no longer want to have you in my consciousness. It's about the way that that child has murdered part of themselves and has then been forced to live with it. And it's only when that child comes into their young adulthood that perhaps the gravest consequences of what they've been forced to do really starts to come to light.
Parents who alienate their children are not only engaging in psychological abuse, but also even physical abuse and social isolation and other types of things to harm that child and keep them away from the other parent. But it does a lot of significant damage to that child and to their relationships with others.
This is evidence-based science. You don't just get to make it up. I think it's important, as an aside, to distinguish between science and a belief system, or science and ideology, or science and speculation.
I'm a scientist and I don't work with possibilities, like what's probable. Because when you're making decisions about children, you need to go with what the evidence says. And the evidence says abused children don't often act that way.
Why do we care if a rejecting child is alienated or estranged, right? Maybe it doesn't matter, but it does. And the reason it matters is because the treatment would be very different.
There's a concept in statistics and probability that turns out to be extremely relevant to these clinical cases. And that concept is the concept of a base rate, which I'll define in a minute, and ignoring the base rate, which is called base rate neglect.
And if you're looking for alienation and even other kinds of domestic violence, you have to look at patterns over time. Because abusive parents they use coercive control, they use ways to dominate the other person, and that you have to look deep and you have to look at it over an extended period of time.
If the professional doesn't have specialty level pattern recognition, or better yet, subspecialty level pattern recognition, you're liable to make a lot of mistakes and miss the important patterns.
Well, actions speak louder than words. I say immediately, you have to be able to reason backwards. When the alienating parent shows genuine support for the relationship between the other parent and child, you know it in how the child behaves. They will accept the other parent like this, like a light switch.
If you're using intuition even when you shouldn't, then you tend to have great confidence in your incorrect conclusions. That's almost true by definition. It feels right. So no matter how wrong you are, if it was intuitive thinking, it feels right, and I'll repeat the catchy phrase, consequently, they tend to have great confidence in their incorrect conclusions, and that's a huge problem.
There's a kind of a perception that both parents must be contributing to the problem for this child to be rejecting them. You know, one parent must be doing something bad, and then the other parents, and they're both acting badly towards each other. And in my experience, interviewing and talking to targeted parents and researching them, that a lot of them are really helpless. They have almost no power or control over what's happening in their lives, in their children's lives. The alienating parent really controls everything. They control access and communication to their child. Anything that that parent will say to the child is interpreted by that child as negative and hostile towards the other parent who they're trying to protect. So my experience was that it's impossible for this person to reciprocate when you actually see the dynamics in these families.
What's going on here is the alienating parent tends to be a master manipulator, often an accomplished liar, brilliant at managing impressions, and so on, and is the aggressor who's winning. The other parent is a trauma victim.
So rather than sort of these children blossoming, they're kind of wilting under the care of the favored parent, and it's just profoundly frustrating, and that word doesn't just really begin to capture how painful it is for the targeted parent to go through that.
For one thing, it requires certain types of thinking that are not commonly taught to professionals. Some advanced medical concepts, for example, reasoning backwards from effect to cause, and conditional probability, which is the probability of one thing given another thing, or the
Okay, just to save time, I've posted the link for this video in the chat. Okay, sorry.
Sure.
Teg is just fixing his hair there.
No, I'm trying to charge my phone. It's almost dead.
Oh, okay. um, all I can say is, if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah.
The same as myself, the same as Tegi. We didn't know that this even had a term at one stage.
Yeah.
But there's research, people, and we live in an age of technology and information. Educate yourself on this, and if you find it hard, do the research yourself. We will be just tune in here. We've done all the research. We're continuing to do all the research. There's not a day we don't learn. But as we've established already, there is a playbook. There's common traits among all of these, and the experts have figured it out. So we don't need to guess. We need to be aware of it. All right. So it's
Dom,
fine
I don't know if
saying
it was
that.
just you or me, but maybe my connection went for a few seconds. I don't know if it was you as well. Maybe
Yeah,
it was just me.
no,
Sorry.
I think you froze. Yeah, I think you froze on your
Okay.
side. It's cool. It's cool.
Okay.
So my
Sorry.
point just simply being that if you partaked in this and you didn't know, I'm not here to judge. We not here to judge. But now that you know, what are you going to do
Agreed.
about it? What are
That's
you
a
going to
good
do
question.
about it? Are you just going to stand by and let it continue? Are you going to start probing people in your church? Are you going to start just observing? Notice this, and just tune in every week. Like I said, it's way too much information for us just to cover in one sitting. I mean, we've been at it already an hour 11 minutes here. This topic goes deep and broad. Deirdre done some research, and she's identified close to or more than 100 scriptures. We'll never be able to go. That actually ties into this, and
Sure.
how the church, the body of Christ, is being broken down. We're also going to come at this from a Muslim perspective as well. We've got a Muslim lady on our team who's going to be providing us with what the Quran says about it. So
Sure.
we're leaving no
Excellent.
stone unturned, people. No stone.
Yeah.
No stone unturned. Tegi, we're going to end off now. Is there anything you want to say to the viewers?
Dominic, I think just from my perspective, thanks for such an amazing platform to be able to speak on. And I love.
Sorry, you just broke up there. Tegi's stuck there. Okay, I think Tegi's frozen right now. Okay, there we go.
I'm gonna try to talk
Sorry,
as
Tegi,
quickly as possible.
Sorry, you just broke up there. Okay, it's cool. I think our internet has had enough of us now, but I hope you guys have learned something from this live. Right, if you're watching the replay, please, as usual, leave your comments below. Tell us what you think. Maybe there's things that you would like us to speak on. If you'd like to share your experience, always reach out. We want to do interviews. We want to share stories. We've discovered that, and I mean, this has always been true, that your story can help someone else. All right. It might not be relevant to yourself, but trust me, there's someone out there that needs to hear what you have gone through, and draw strength from that. All I can say is, for fellow Christians, it's time for us to stand up to this beast. It's time for us to identify it, stop being scared to speak about it, stop being scared of who you're going to offend, and in some cases thinking it's not your business. It is your business, especially if you've got children. And even if you don't have children, these abused children grow up And guess what? There's not a bright future for them. They can grow up with all the money in the world and still turn to drugs, still turn out to be sociopaths, psychopaths, murderers. This is the reality we live in today. I know it might be hard hitting. People might not like what I say or have to say, but it's the truth. And I know the truth hurts. Right? We all know that. So let's not forget, the Bible has instructed us, and we need to teach our children. we need to go back to biblical principles. Whatever religion you believe in, there's good and bad, right? How did we get to this point where we can't differentiate between the two? Right, that's it from me, people. Peace, love, have an awesome Sunday. God bless. And we'll be back on this tomorrow live. Like, subscribe if you haven't before. If you haven't yet, like our page, please hit the message button there if you'd like to send us a message, if you'd like to inquire on how you can volunteer. In fact, if you'd like to volunteer, just type in the chat the word volunteer. All right, type in the comments volunteer, and you'll be taken automatically to our chatbot. I'm using the wrong keyboard here. So just type the word volunteer in the chat, and you'll be taken to our chatbot. You'll be asked a couple of questions. You can go on there, just answer those questions, share your skills with us, and we'll be able to tell you exactly where you fit in with us. Okay. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. Like our Facebook page, and I will see you tomorrow. God bless.